Hello and welcome back to the channel, and thanks for joining me in another of my monologues. So there's been a lot of interest in the fact that we're looking at a parcel of land and we're trying to get on it, of course, and that's nice. And so thank you so much for that. I want to come on to that aspect shortly. I've made a little list today of some of the talking points that I wanted to share with you. So first of all, let me get the bits of promotion out the way. If you happen to be in the Glastonbury area, we are going to be doing a talk tomorrow, that's Saturday, in Glastonbury. Well, it's not actually in Glastonbury, but it's just outside. I'll put the poster up on the screen so that you can have a look at that. It's an outdoor venue, I think in a marquee, and I believe if you wish to come, you need to bring your own seats. So if you are coming along, just to let you know, you may need to bring your own portable chair. We, as you may know, that we've been cancelled twice from two venues in Glastonbury. This is Clive de Coyle, Sandy Adams and myself for what was originally going to be an evening talk. Now it's a sort of afternoon talk, if you like. I think it starts at 3 o'clock, although the doors open at 1. And yeah, we've been cancelled a couple of times because people are slightly fearful of the truth coming out. And so they've, in some way, blackmail may be a bit too much of a heavy term, but they've sort of put the frighteners on the various committees who run these venues. So it's a bit barking, isn't it? But anyway, we have managed to find somewhere, and the information's on the screen. So if you want to come along, then do come along. It'd be lovely to see you. The second one, I just wanted to remind you about the WTF festival. A lot of people are going to that. That's coming up very soon. It's up in Cumbria. Julia and I will be there as well, and it'll be lovely to see you. So we hope to meet more of you wonderful people up there, and thank you for supporting these festivals, these events, and all that. It's a great way of meeting people and talking to us directly, because it's very difficult for us and people like us who appear on YouTube channels and places like that to communicate easily. I get loads of emails, as you know, and sometimes I can only write 1 or 2 lines because I've got too many to get through and I've got other things to do in the day, as we all have. It's especially when you're demonetized, you can't even say it's a full-time job because you're not actually being paid for any of it. So the more emails that come in, the more it sort of bogs you down. That's not to say I don't enjoy getting people's emails. And on that front, I just wanted to say, with the land thing, I am getting a lot of people giving me advice, firstly saying, oh, it's very tough, you can't do it the way you think you can do it, you're going to find it very hard, and all of those sort of things. And I don't want to sound like we're not taking anybody's advice, or that we're being snooty about how we do things, or we're being pig-headed and just going ahead and doing whatever we think. We are taking that advice, but again, there's so much of it, it's actually quite muddling, because a lot of people will tell you one thing and a lot of people will tell you something else, and people will recommend this channel and people will recommend that, and everybody wants to help, and that's really kind. But we can't do everything that everybody says. I mean, firstly, we haven't even got the land, so that's going to be interesting when we get it. And everybody's got their 10 pence worth. Some people have done it. Some people have had certain issues. Some people want to, prevent those issues from going ahead with other people. They're trying to, be helpful, but it can be very overwhelming, as I am sure that anybody who's been on the land or done anything different that was quite daring, adventurous, challenging, will know when they first started, everybody was sort of saying, let me give you my 10 pence worth of advice. And so just bear that in mind when you're sending us stuff. It's not that we're not listening, it's just, it's overwhelming. So anyway, but you know, you're very welcome to send what you think, because there's always gems, there's always something that will land at the right time. And I think also, talking about being at the right time, this is the time is now. The time is now to start doing things. And I've said this for a little while, that we've been looking at solutions and things that we ought to think about, you know, not eating processed food, not going to supermarkets and supporting big corporations, that we should be supporting the small family-run places, that more smaller farms should be setting up, that we should try to do our best to filter or avoid fluoridated water with all the other chemicals that are in it, that we should bring awareness to what goes on in the skies, pull our children out of the state schools, because who wants your kids to be taught wokery, and some of the other things which aren't really useful for life. I think of all the things that I was taught at school, so little of it was actually useful for life, and many of those things have been phased out. We did home economics, and I remember we were taught how to make what was it, scrambled egg on toast. Now, actually, that was very useful, but this is, in many ways, if the kids were not going to school in the huge numbers that they were, mums and dads could be teaching them that. But of course, we know that mums and dads have been deliberately made to have to both go out to work, so there's nobody at home to bring up the children because of the cost of living and everything. And so that's become a problem that we need to readdress. We need to bring back much more of that family unit, so that kids are learning from the grandparents, their parents, their siblings, their friends, all kids of different ages. And it's a weird thing to have a classroom of 33 or whatever it is, children of the same age, and so you know, and it's one adult, supposedly an adult, who's only these days only in their 20s, so they have very little wisdom, and they're supposed to be bringing them up. But anyway, so we've looked at solutions, but now it's time, I believe, that we must get on with it. We've got to start saying, actually, we're taking the responsibility for our lives. We don't need the convenience that very often authority, big corporations and others sort of make life so easy that we become a bit dim and a bit brain dead, and that we're not able to do things again. We've forgotten how to even put up shelves to look after ourselves and our health, and we're being encouraged ever more to be into a digital world, which I think is very much a wrong direction to take. And I think that actually our bodies have been created, and I did a video on this, albeit somewhat silly, and to say that we are designed to live. We're not designed to sit and have our lives lived out by somebody else on a screen. And this is, this is a dichotomy for me, because I'm trying to want to demonstrate that it's possible to do things in the most simplest and down-to-earth way, build a community around us, and rely on the community rather than on the big corporations and public authority, who it would appear want to just take as much money from you and your soul energy away from you. And that doesn't seem to me to be a good idea, that that they do that. Anyway, so advice is welcome, but just bear in mind that everybody's doing it. Everyone's giving advice. If you're not up to date with what we're doing, the English Couple, which is our sister station, will be really the one that's going to demonstrate most of the stuff that we do. And so you can check that out. I'll no doubt be playing a little excerpt as I'm talking now. But if you hop over, at the end, you'll see where you can click, or you can find it in the description, the English Couple, and do subscribe to that, because that's really Julia and I being an English couple, if you like, and on that adventure on the land. And we've been looking for land for a long time, and the latest video is one that we're looking at. There are others that we've been looking at, and the ones that need the most work seem to be the ones that more appeal to us, I suppose, rather than just a flat plot. There seems to be a lot of fields, I don't know, 10, 20 acre fields that have been chopped up into very small plots, and you just don't know what your neighbour's going to do, whether they're going to be spraying on their crops, and is that going to leach onto yours, or are they going to have plants that might attract the wrong kind of insect for us. So we don't want to be on one of these where there's 10 plots all next door to each other, because you just don't know what your neighbours are going to do, and your neighbours may not be as friendly as perhaps you might, or they might chop and change, and it's just not for us. So we are looking for a sort of independent little space. Right. I wanted to update you also. I was hoping by now that I could tell you that the Biggleswick book was up for sale. But because I do want to get that out, it's Biggleswick, the town that wouldn't comply. This is a very early version of it, which I used for myself, and it wasn't even quite finished, but really just to do red penning, where I was changing and editing in my own, this is like the third or fourth draft of the book, and I was moving scenes and changing bits and, what have you. Well, about a month ago now, it seems to me, it must be close to a month ago, I sent off for proofreader copies of the final thing. And I'll put on the screen the images of the cover so you can see it. And for some reason, and we went to lulu.com, I don't want to use Amazon. I don't want to put it on Amazon. It will be a hardback. Initially, the first edition will be a hardback with a dust cover. It will be very nice. It will also make a great Christmas gift, and it's aimed both at people in the freedom and truth movement, because for me, there is a solution to get out of some of the problems that we're in, and it's also an introduction to some of the problems that we're in for those people who are perhaps not quite yet awake, or beginning to understand that there's something there, or perhaps they've had one of the various, they may be aware of what's going on in the sky, perhaps they're worried about water, perhaps they're thinking twice about what was injected into them, and a myriad of other things is in the book. It's a novel, and a novel to me is a great way to describe stuff that has happened, but in a fictitious way, because you then are not claiming it to be true, but it will resonate, if you see what I mean. And yet also you can say, well, it's a novel, it's fiction, because the result has not happened yet. But if a town does what happens in Biggleswick, in reality, then it's no longer a fiction. And I'm very much hoping that somewhere along the line that could potentially happen. Talking of fiction and stuff, I just want to briefly touch on, so to finish that thread, the proofreader book should be here very soon. They'll go out, and I guess the proofreaders will take 2 or 3 weeks to read that. So Biggleswick will be out, hopefully by the end of September. I was hoping it would be at the beginning of September, but I've got to get the printers. So it may well be at the end of September, but it will still be in time for Christmas, which I think is going to be a great time for people to perhaps read. It's taken a year. It will have taken a year to get this book out, but anyway, I appreciate everybody who's been following and eager to learn. And I'll let you know if we're doing some pre-order sales. But until the book comes back, till we've got the printers on board, till I know how many copies I need to print initially, I can't tell you any more of that. But I will keep you updated. So thank you very much, because people have been asking me. And yet, so the final thing I wanted to talk about briefly is about fiction. I watched a video the other day about some guys who have their own homestead. They're in America. And one of the viewers reported them and said, oh, I've been watching so-and-so's video, and, I'm not very happy with them, and so I'm reporting what they do. And they had an official visit from the government, who turned up. They weren't actually there at the time, but they said, no, the gate's open, go and do your independent research or whatever it is you've got to do. You know where it is, because this government agent had been there before. And they said, yeah, you fine. Anyway, turns out there was nothing wrong. The government were happy with everything that was being done, and so on and so forth. And but it made me think, this is interesting, because people are documenting their lives. And here is an issue, I think, that we come across when you document your lives, because you're saying to the audience, this is true, and you don't know who's watching. I know that you only have to look in the comments. There are a number of people who either really detest me, don't like me, think that everything I say is complete and utter rubbish. And I'm not saying that everything I say is absolutely true or 100%. It's what I believe. It's been my opinion. And you'll notice on the thumbnail, I always used to have opinion. It's only an opinion. I can't tell you 100%, because everybody's got to come and reach their own opinion or their own belief, their own understanding of the world. But people are very harsh, aren't they? They're very quick to say, no, this is wrong. He's talking bollocks. It's all made up. It's rubbish. How can this be? And that's fine. I don't mind the fact that people may not believe me. They don't have to believe me. It's not. I'm not telling you this as we're not. But I don't believe in a dictatorial or dictatorial life. I'm just sharing ideas, and I'm questioning things. And people don't have to accept that. That's fine. But some people in the comments there are really quite nasty, and they enjoy being nasty. Half the time, though, when they say things, nasty things, I think half the time they're actually talking about themselves, because they don't know us. They don't really know what goes on. And so the idea that the fiction thing is, everything is a fiction anyway. Anybody who turns on a camera, anybody who turns on a camera and talks to a camera, it's all a little bit fictitious, isn't it? Because in normal life, you're not talking to a camera. You're not sharing everything that you do. You just get on with it. But when you put stuff on social media or whatever, there's a certain element of theatricality about it. Of course there is, because you're talking to a camera. You're not actually just you going about your business. The other day we did a video where we were sharpening our tools. I think it was yesterday, actually. And somebody in the comments said, oh, well, that was a bit fake, wasn't it? And yes, it was a little bit fake because there's a light here, for example, and there's a light up there, in order for me to sit in my house, and it's so dim because they're dimming the bloody skies out there, that it would be a very grainy, miserable picture if I tried to film here. So there's a little bit of artificiality going on as I sit here talking to a camera on a tripod with a radio mic that's talking to the radio receiver there that goes into there, which I will then go and upload to YouTube. And there are two lights here to try and illuminate the thing. And so me sitting here is a bit fake. Julia and I sharpening tools to demonstrate what we actually did, which was we did do the sharpening tools, but we wanted to share the fact that, because sometimes when you film stuff, you've got to stop and start and turn the camera on and turn it off and move the camera and get another shot. I used to do the Bald Explorer, going around looking at landscape, heritage and nature, and you may have seen some of my walking videos. Well, there you'll see me walking into a church, perhaps climbing over stiles, going down lanes, talking to camera. And all of those me walking about shots are set up by putting the camera on a tripod, turning the camera on, running into position and then walking and editing it so it flows in some form of narrative. But it's all very theatrical, just like anything on television is very theatrical. Like Clarkson's Farm is extremely over-the-top theatricality. It doesn't mean that there isn't an element of truth in there, that it is just heightened so that it becomes entertaining and not boring to watch. And so there is an element of a fictitious nature to everything that you see. And sometimes one needs to explain it to what appears to be some brain-dead people out there who do not understand. And they think somehow they've opened their eye and they're actually looking into real life when they switch on YouTube. And they've got to remember, surely they're not that dim, that they don't realize that there is a camera on a tripod, or somebody is filming something and it's been edited and put up, you know. So, but the reason I mention all of that is simply to say that it is worth, when you are supposedly documenting your life, I think, to adopt the attitude of putting a disclaimer out and saying that everything that you watch is somewhat fictitious, that the characters, you know, like they do in a book, in a novel, and say the characters and the organizations that one might talk about is fictitious, and any resemblance to living and breathing organizations or people is purely coincidental. Because if somebody reports you and says, you know, you're doing this and blah, 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 and you can say, well, where is that information come from? Oh, I saw it on a YouTube video, I saw it on there, yeah, they're documenting their lives and, you know, it must be true. And it's like, well, I think if you put the disclaimer up there and saying, but they've just told you that it's fictitious, so therefore everything that you see may not necessarily be 100% true, doesn't mean that it's a lie, and it may be that there's an element of truth in it, but sometimes I think if you are putting yourself above the parapet, you're going to have to protect yourself, because unfortunately there are people out there who don't have your best interests at heart. And so therefore, by, I think, putting a small disclaimer just to say this may not be 100% accurate, and do not use this as a source to, you know, as evidence that it's fictitious, may well be a way of covering what you get up to, because we're all going to have to take risks in the future, because we're being shut down ever more and closed off, and we need to protect ourselves. Everybody needs to protect yourself from something, whether that's protecting yourself from the cold, the wind, too much sun, not enough sun, rain, and the environment. We all need to protect ourselves from something, and if there are bad apples, we definitely need to protect ourselves from those. It's a shame that that's the world we're in, and that people want to find fault because they seem to be themselves insecure and unhappy with themselves, and so they need to take it out on other people. It's a shame about that they can't look in the mirror and say to themselves, do you know what? I'm going to fix myself, and I'm going to have a good life, and I'm going to thrive and be like other people and have a happy time, which would be the most best thing that they could do. It's a shame that they do have to go, no, I'm so miserable, I'm going to try and make other people's lives miserable. And that's really, that, you know, our hearts go out to those people who are like that, who hide behind anonymity, who hide behind coarse and mean words, because actually they find life very difficult. And I send them love. I send them love, and I say, you poor thing, when I see those sort of comments. And that's all you can do, and you can hope that they will actually cast that negativity away and do some good. But until we get there, we just need to protect ourselves. Well, I hope this has been an interesting video. As I said in another video, there may well be disruptions in here as we start to get things going. And so may not be videos every single day, and I'm doing my best. But thank you so much. We appreciate everything that people do for us. We are demonetized. We don't get any money at all. And so if on this channel, the other channel, The English Couple, is monetized, and you know, it barely gets any views, although the last video has actually got some views. So, you know, we might even make a tenner out of it. Who knows? Last of the big spenders for us. Thank you for watching. Till next time, goodbye.